Alright. It is what it is. Okay. Alright. How is everybody doing today? Hey, what's going on, Malou? Yeah, I'm glad you guys are able to make it. I always worry about doing these things during the day, but you know what? I just got over shingles. I had shingles for like geez, it was like 5 or 6 weeks, and I was on and off trying to help everybody and talk to everybody, but I was in so much pain that I would get to a point where I was talking to someone, and then I'd be in so much pain that I would just not get back to them, and then I forgot. I forgot just to talk. I was like, you know what? Let me do a live stream just so I could say hi to everybody, and then just let everybody know what was going on. I don't normally do them during the day, but I figured I had more energy during the day. Let's see. I know I'm gonna try my hardest to get back to some questions. Let's see. I'd love to hear more. By the way, guys, I read these things out loud because if anybody watches this on a later date and they're not basically the chat part of this disappears. So I let everybody know out loud. I read everything out loud and then I'll answer the question out loud. But let's see. You're asking. I'd love to hear more about the cruise project. What is the advantage of the atmospheric blow-off valve versus the stock diverter? I'm just gonna say diverter because I have to watch what I say because it's a live stream. So, so the advantage of the atmospheric blow-off valve, well, it does a couple things. So for starters, I wanted to figure out how to make it work. That was just a project of mine. No one's been able to figure it out, so I really wanted to. I wanted to figure out what it would take to make a atmospheric blow-off valve work on the car. I officially have a working one, and I have a tune file that will work with it. And but I have not finished. I have not put the tune file in and tested like the air fuel ratios or anything like that yet. I just know that it can be tuned for because I'm in the middle of doing meth injection and I want to get my car back to the dyno to see what kind of power we make with the meth injection. So I got off subject. My apologies. I haven't done a live stream in a while. So the advantage of the blow-off valve, it does a few things. One, it sounds cool. I like the way it sounds. The diverter valve has sort of a squeak noise to it. In fact, my youngest son calls it he calls it the chicken. So when we go out on the cruise, he says that it's the chicken bukkake. So sometimes it does sound that way. Maybe not the way I mimicked it, but it does sound like that. So the noise I didn't really like that much. And then when I went to a big turbo, I was getting this awful flute sound. I put out a couple videos where you guys can hear that noise, and so what I started doing was I was like, okay, let me figure out how to do the blow-off valve because then I have a way to bypass the diverter. I have a diverter that actually tricks the computer into thinking it's still there, and it also blocks off the turbo so no air gets lost. And by doing that, I got rid of that flute noise. And by using the atmospheric blow-off valve, there's no like turbo struggle. Like for example, I have a go fast bits diverter on the car now, which also helps with that noise, but it causes the turbo to have a struggle and it causes a flutter noise. So when you're using the atmospheric blow off valve, it lets the air out and there's nothing in there that the turbo will struggle to spool or the turbo won't chop up that boost pressure because it just releases it faster. So that was my idea behind the blow off valve. And I just don't like the stock diverter because I know a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people that have either wastegate problems or stock diverter problems, and a lot of times they think, hey, let me go get an aftermarket diverter upgrade. So basically, like an HPRV or a Go Fast Bits diverter, but you're still reusing your original electronic parts. So when you swap those parts in, if you had a problem from your old diverter and you go put that piece in, it doesn't fix your diverter. It basically has the same problem, and now your diverter is just louder. So that's why I decided to just bypass the diverter completely and just get rid of it. Sorry guys, my phone is making noise. A lot of people keep messaging me, which is it happens because I'm saying hi to everybody. But sorry if the phone was going off and vibrating the desk. Hey, what's up, Cole? What's up, Mr. Boxer? I'm just gonna use whatever names are on your Google, even if I know your real name, because I don't want to get people confused. Let's see. Malou, you had asked. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Cole. Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. I was just mentioning earlier that basically having shingles Just imagine being burnt with a blowtorch and stung by bees at the same time. Plus, every joint in your body is achy, and it was an awful feeling, and I had a fever on top of it. What I didn't realize is how long it would take to recover, and on top of that, it was actually. I'm letting you guys know it's caused by stress most of the time. That's like the number one reason to have shingles kick back in. So if you ever had chicken pox when you were younger, you will always have a chance to get shingles, and when you live a stressed life, like me, that actually can accelerate shingles from kicking back in. So that's what ended up happening. It just happened to come around when I was having some pretty stressful stuff going on. So Malou, you said I've struggled to find anyone who tunes cruises in Oregon. Do you have any recommendations where I can learn how to tune, or what do you do in my situation? I don't know Oregon. I do know Bad News Racing can pretty much tune no matter where you are. I know I know they get a bad rap because of how long it takes them to get back to people, but they do get back to people, and most of the time they do pretty good. Trifecta I used on my Generation 1 cruise. I really liked the tune, but back when I had a Generation 1 cruise, my job wasn't really working on cruises. It was just I built the car for fun, and I did like the tune. I will say Bad News Racing does come with a handheld, which is nice because you can data log and you can also read codes, clear codes, stuff like that. You can also read live data, which is very handy. And then I do know the guys over at Vermont Tuning. I think they're up possibly in your area. He does a good job as well. Oh yeah, Fopiano. He just pointed out High Performance Academy is how you learn tuning. So High Performance Academy is a great YouTube channel. I believe they're the people who actually own HP tuners, and they have a lot of information that's actually free on their YouTube channel, and they also have classes. So if you want to get like let's say you're struggling and you want to get better, they have actual classes. You could pay them and they'll teach you like easier ways to learn how to tune. I'm glad you point that out. I totally forgot about them. I do watch them every once in a while because I really like to see the different stuff they're working on, because they work on some pretty cool cars too. They do a lot of different things. I mean, they're sort of like my channel, only better. Like my channel is more so what I feel like doing and teaching. Their channel is more along the lines of almost like a teaching school, if that makes sense. So it's like being in class almost. Oh, that's cool. What benefits do you have to be a VIP member there? I'm just curious, Fopiano. Thank you. Really helpful. No problem, Malou. Their website is real meat and potatoes. That's funny. Yeah, I've never actually been on their website, but now that you mention it, I should actually go to their site more. I was toying with the idea of doing my own tuning, but I'm so busy. Well, I did learn how to tune. If it's an LS engine, I kind of know the basics, and when I first built my first supercharger kit, it was like 12 years ago, and I do have HP tuners, and I can basically get a car running and sort of adjust for air fuel ratio. And since then, I've learned a lot about it. So I know just enough to know if a tune is working or there's a problem with a tune, but I haven't really done enough to keep my skills up. But I do still have everything, and I was toying with the idea of tuning my own cruise, which I still want to. The only problem is my tune is locked, and so I would have to start from scratch. So it would just take a lot of work, and right now I don't have the time to let the Cruise sit and have me sort of figure out how to tune on a Chevy Cruise. Plus, I like Jerry over at Bad News Racing. He's a really cool guy, and I don't want to... I like working with him. He's a cool guy. He's done a lot of work on my car, and so far, with a few hiccups on a few things, I am happy with the tune, getting to the next level. I'm just waiting for a response. I know they're busy, but I'm just waiting for a response on some little things. But so anyway, so let's see. Fopiano, you said all the current. So let's see. Sorry, let me back up a little. So their current website is Real Meat and Potatoes. All the current and feature courses. That's cool. And the YouTube channel is mostly advertise and find students. That's true. So probably I would say, because I've watched a bunch of their videos, they give you just enough information in their YouTube videos to basically let you know that they know what they're doing. And I would imagine once they get to the website, you realize how much more they have. So they get you sort of hooked on it, which is cool. And you know what? That's great. They need to be doing that, because if they weren't doing that, you wouldn't know that they actually have a training course for you. And you know, it's funny, when I learned to originally tune like 12 years ago, there wasn't a lot of people doing a lot of different things, right? You had your people who maybe did the Subaru WRX, and you had maybe let's see, the Honda Civics, and I'm sure the Honda maybe existed back then. And then you had your HP tuners doing all the LS stuff, and you know how LS is. Everyone does LS. Fords, I think you still had to use like a handheld tuner, and then you had to put a file into the car. So it's a lot like how the Cruise is done, where a file gets taken out, you would send the file out to probably like, who would be it? Maybe a modern, what's that, American Modern, I think they're called, or something like that, where they do like Mustang parts. You would send a file into them, and they would have a tuner write like a generic file, and then send it back, and you put it in the car. And then dyno tuners, even on Mustangs, like a dyno tuner would still make you pay like $600 or $700 for like the handheld dyno tune, and then by the time you're done, a Mustang would cost like $1,000 to do tuning. I don't know if that's the same now. I know nowadays you can tune your own car with HP tuners. I think if you already have a laptop and you buy HP tuners and pay for the credits, I think you're probably into it for about $500 with the points and everything, which isn't bad, and you can do it on your own if you have a class like the High Performance Academy. Yeah. So I didn't really have so today I didn't really have a major subject to talk about. I just wanted to say hi to everybody because I was miserable for so long, and that was the point of my live stream today. And I was hoping to catch everybody sort of during lunch, because I figured it would be more fun to catch people while they're working, just because you're probably bored and probably tired, and you needed sort of a break from reality. So I was like, you know what, let me just throw up a live stream in the middle of the day, because even me, like, I have a lot of energy, and I think if I waited till like 7 o'clock tonight, like I usually do, I would be exhausted by then, and just wouldn't have the ability to have a conscious thought. Let's see, Malou, where have you seen the greatest performance gains from your cruise? So, let's see, has it been the larger turbo or from upgrading the charge tube? So basically, I've had stages. So if you were to take my intercooler, so when I did the intercooler the first time, I reused my original charge pipe. So I have a version of the intercooler where you reuse your OEM charge pipe. As long as you're stock turbo, it's fine. So switching over to my intercooler, and then coupling that with the wastegate with a black spring and a tune. So basically, I did the tune. I noticed a big change in power. I did the intercooler and upgraded the wastegate, and between those two, I noticed another boost in power. Plus, I noticed my turbo would spool faster. I would get boost quicker. Then, when I went big turbo, you notice another boost in power. But when I swapped out the charge pipe, then I noticed another boost in power. So it's like I have all these like little stages. So if you were to go basically factory car and then do all of those modifications, it would feel like a car that has 100 horsepower and then all of a sudden has like 400 horsepower. It's amazing, all those things that you can change. But I would say every little thing gives you a little bit. So if you're like me and you do little bit by little bit, you're going to notice little gains along the way. So usually, I mean, if someone contacts me and they want an intercooler, I usually ask different questions. So if you're completely stock, and let's say you want to throw an intercooler on, like obviously one of my kits, you're going to notice a gain for two reasons. One is your intake temperatures are cooler, your turbo is going to spool a little faster, and as long as we keep your car in the proper boost range, your tune file will adjust for it. But I always recommend getting a tune. So then if you want to upgrade, so basically I would tell somebody, look, your next step after the intercooler should be a wastegate and a tune. So then all those three things right away will basically transform your car. But if you decide to go to the next level, then what I would tell people is, look, I have a charge pipe upgrade, and so basically coming out of your turbo is restricted to about an inch in diameter. So that literally, it chokes your turbo. So the pipe chokes your turbo down to about an inch, and then from there it expands to the size of the factory intercooler pipe, and then goes through the intercooler. So So I'll upgrade that charge pipe to something a lot bigger. So basically, the factory one's about this big, and my charge pipe is larger at the turbo, and then expands even bigger. So that right there would give you a lot more airflow. And then if you have a big, so basically, if you have a big turbo, it won't choke your turbo anymore. So that's why I do that upgrade as like a secondary add-on, because I want to say 90% of the people are just running a factory turbo and they want to max it out like I did my first round with getting power out of the car. And then like a small amount of people have the big turbo, which is why the charge pipe is an add-on. And then some people just have a charge pipe that's a factory charge pipe. It's literally falling apart. So like the rubber from the turbo going down to the intercooler is literally splitting or getting dry rotted from age, which is weird because the cars are not that old, or they get oil soaked. That's the other thing. And because they're oil soaked, they end up falling apart too. So that's why I would upgrade a charge pipe as well. You know, I just remembered. I've been noticing people don't really understand the importance of a catch can. So I put out a second video basically showing my version of the catch can. Now, I had one guy who was a jerk basically saying, "Oh, that's an eBay kit." It's not an eBay kit. The can is from like you can get it on eBay, right? The can part, but everything else is Mishimoto rubber catch can lines, oil resistant polyurethane elbows and tees, stainless steel clamps, and I also tie a few different things into the catch can. So like when I take pipes off of my car, my pipes are always clean on the inside. Most of my videos, you can see that. My pipes never have oil in them, they never have debris in them. But a lot of other people are having like intercooler problems or performance problems. I'll tell them, like, take a pipe off and take a picture, and then literally the inside of their pipes are black. And it's from oil getting into the turbo, and then it's getting into the intercoolers, getting into all of your sensors, and then it's getting into the throttle body, and then it's, you know, it's getting burned up by the engine, it's causing gunk on your spark plugs. So the reason I'm bringing that up is I see a lot of people sort of overlook catch cans and the way they hook them up. They're not hooking them up properly, and that's why my videos are so important. Like, I don't just make the videos to sell parts. I really do make the videos to show people, like, look, I made this part for your car, and the car benefits from it, and people kind of overlook some of the important information. They just see, like they'll see how the catch can's in, and they'll just assume, oh, it's done this way, and then that's that. And then I still get pictures with debris inside the turbo, or I'm sorry, inside the intercooler pipes and stuff. But that oil causes, like, it soaks up the factory rubber, and it actually makes it swell and crack and break, and that's why I bring up that stuff. Okay, so you know what I'm gonna do, guys? Let me just catch up on the group chat. Let me see. Where have you seen the greatest performance gains, Malou? I appreciate you saying that you appreciate what I do. Thank you. Let's see. Little by little bit. Malou said, "Little by little bit is all I can afford." So, listen. One other thing, Malou. I do have people who. Okay, so I understand what it's like. I understand the struggle of buying parts for a car, and I understand it costs money. So what I started doing is, well, obviously it costs money. What I started doing is trying to soften the blow for everyone, which is why I sell my intercooler system in one way to make it cheaper, and if you want to upgrade the extra stuff, I have upgrades. I even have a modular setup where you can add like meth injection. I mean, I have a lot of, in fact, I have a way of doing it to where we can change out your factory charge pipes, run your factory intercooler, and then later on, if you want to upgrade to the large core intercooler that I have, you can reuse the pipes I give you and set up my large core intercooler. Then what I also do is, like every little piece that I have, you guys can pay me off. So like I have somebody, you know, I have a couple people right now with parts sitting in my shop that I'm storing. So they gave me a deposit, and then every month they give me a little bit here and there, and it's no interest. You know, I don't care about interest. I just care about helping out. And then when they finally give me that last payment and your kit is paid off, then I'll ship it out. So I do that to help people out too as well. So if you're struggling and you need help with parts, let me know. What I've even done is, let's say you're looking to get something and your credit sucks and you can't buy a part. You give me a deposit, I'll buy a part for you that you need for your car that you can't otherwise finance. I'll hang on to it, pay me off, interest free, and then I'll ship that out to you as well. So I try to help everybody as much as I can. And I do take a lot of burdens on for, I don't know why, I think I just like helping people. So again, the point of that is, if you need help, please let me know and I'll do the best I can to help you out. And sometimes I do have used parts that actually are in really good shape too that I could, you know, send your way as well. Let's see. Summit, you said that's how my dad tunes his Mustang. Yeah, the Diablo. Oh, that's what it was, Diablo. Yeah, I remember when I had my Cobra Mustang, I was the thing would run really bad and never pass emissions, and then every time I would go in, the monitors were all turned off, and I never understood why. I bought a Diablo. I went into it, played around with the tune a little bit, and realized all the monitors were shut off because I guess in the 90s or early 2000s, the way to tune was you would turn a lot of things off, and then when you made changes to the engine, the air fuel ratios wouldn't adjust because it doesn't know what's happening. But the problem is nowadays you can't pass inspection that way. So, but back then it worked. And I don't like that style. Like I prefer to have everything monitoring and working perfectly because I want my car to run good at all times. So, which might be why my car never really has any problems because I don't ask for anything to be turned off. In fact, I still have the factory exhaust system on my car, so I didn't want to deal with a downpipe or anything like that throwing off the tune. So not that it does. There are some situations where I've seen tuning get messed up because a tuner didn't know someone had a downpipe. They forgot to tell them, or they got a tune, added a downpipe later, but it's illegal to tune out stuff, and then the car runs like crap after that too. So there's a few factors as to why I don't have one. Let's see. Oh, Tim Horrocks, how are you? He is visiting us from Canada. Um, I talk to him all the time through email, so I appreciate you showing up. Let's see. So what you're saying? So Tim's saying. So what you're saying is, get the intercooler, wastegate, then the tune. Yeah, Tim, you can do it that way. The intercooler is going to help you no matter what. I have people who have stock tunes that add my intercooler, and just right away they notice the car runs a lot better and the intake temperatures are lower. For example, one guy. Well, actually, there's a few people that do it, who like use their car for towing. Well, one guy has a big turbo, but another guy has a stock car. So they liked, well, two things. So some people like my big brake kit when they're using the Cruise for towing because it helps slow the car down a lot more. They also like the intercooler because it cools the intake temperatures, and you won't really need a tune unless you mess with a lot of things on the car. You won't really need a tune. So a lot of the times I recommend the wastegate after because let's say you go throw the intercooler in. Well, now your turbo is freer. It's free flowing. So now you can upgrade your wastegate to get your boost to come back a little higher and still be within your tune specs. But I always recommend a tune on top of everything because now the tuner can adjust your timing tables and your fuel delivery and actually get you. So like let's say the intercooler and wastegate give you on a factory tune, I don't know, 50 to 75 horsepower. Let's throw a number out there. You throw a tune on top of that, now all of a sudden you're unlocking the potential of everything, and you can get upwards of, well, no, let's say it's like 40 to 50 horsepower. Then when you throw the tune on, it'll probably get you 120 horsepower. Well, all right, so this is going to be confusing because I'm talking about like crank versus wheel horsepower. So basically, let's say an engine has 200 horsepower at the crank. At the wheels, you're probably going to have like 120 to 150, something like that. So if you have like 100 horsepower at the crank, you're going to have maybe 75 at the wheels. There is what's known as drivetrain loss. So it's a little confusing, but I always recommend a tune at some point so you can unlock the potential of those parts. That's my point. And sorry if I'm a little rusty, guys. So I'm trying my hardest to do this after not doing it for almost 2 months. Let's see. Tim Fopiano, let's see. You said there's a company called UPR Products. I remember them. When I was building my Cobra, I bought a lot of their parts. They make a properly baffled catch cans that I could find. The cheapest, sometimes you only have a piece of a... Oh, sorry. The way I read that, I can't read it out loud because of YouTube. But the second part of that is basically you're saying it's baffled properly. Some of them have an open chamber. So yeah, UPR makes cool stuff. I know they make a lot of Mustang parts. I'm gonna look into their can because maybe their can they might have a better version of the one that I use now. I try to keep. I like the way my can works now because I have a receiver system. So basically, my can sits in place, stays perfectly fine. Then when I want to drain it, it literally lifts out, spin the cup, clean it, put it back, drop it right back in place, and it stays. I really like the way it's set up, and I like how it works, and it's very easy to maintenance the car, which is why I have it that way. So if I could find maybe a better version that still fits in there, or find a new, or build a new version of my receiver, this is why my kit costs what it does, it's not just the catch can. It's all the little pieces that come in the kit to make the whole thing work. And my kit, you don't have to actually bolt it to the car and then deal with getting the cup off while it's bolted somewhere under the hood. You can literally lift it up out of the engine bay, like basically remove the base and clean it and put it back. So I thought it was a lot easier running a catch can that way than it was with the traditional style, and that's why I did that. But I'm going to look into the UPR one now that you mentioned it, especially since, I have a lot of respect for everybody here, and especially since you mentioned it, I'm going to take the time to take a look at it. Let's see, Tim. So what you're saying is, oh wait, I think I'm behind a little. Oh, Tim, gotta love the option to choose what you want and what you can afford. Yeah, Tim, I'm trying my hardest to help everyone. I truly do care about everybody, especially, it's I have a lot of cars on my channel. The cruise community is my busiest community, but I also like the Jetta guys. Like I met Fopiano through the Jetta stuff. He has a really cool Jetta that he races up in New York, and I try my hardest to take care of everybody. And everyone who contacts me who wants something that I made on one of my videos, I will make it for you. All I ever ask is throw me a deposit. I will make the part. Then you can pay me off, and then when it's ready, I'll ship it out to you. I try my hardest to help everyone that way. And I always say it's interest free. I'm not looking to make any money other than what we agree upon on what I'm making for you. Okay, so Malou, that's awesome. Fireworks, hey, what's going on? How are you? I appreciate you coming. Again, I'm not using any other names from any other platform, so I'm gonna talk to you about just on your YouTube Google name. Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm trying my hardest. Oh, well, so Fireworks said, picture quality looks good today. Thank you. I'm trying my hardest to bring you guys the best video and best audio. Actually, I didn't even ask if my microphone is working. I heard the microphone, but let me know if the microphone is giving you guys a problem or if the video is giving you any problems so I can, upgrade my setup here. I'm trying my hardest to give you guys the best. I want to give back to you guys as much as you give to me with all the comments and emails and stuff you send. Let's see. Mr. Boxer, how are you? I'm glad you're back. I don't know what you missed, but luckily, I will. This live stream will be on my YouTube channel, so even if you missed part of it, you could go back and rewatch it. Let's see. Jeff H. Also, iFix name. Oh, Jeff, I'm sorry. I think I missed a previous comment from you. I don't see it. I think this... Jeff, I'm sorry. I don't understand that comment. My apologies. Also... Oh, Mr. Boxer, you changed your name. My apologies. I didn't realize you changed names right in the middle of this chat. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate that. Thank you. I talk to you for almost every day, too, on Discord, so... I remember now who everyone's names, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see, Malou, you said, what got you so passionate about cars and messing with them? Okay. All right, so my grandparents raised me. I did have a father and a mother. They were pretty much MIA most of my life. My father, though, when he was around... So when I was little, imagine being 6 and walking in your driveway and seeing a row of Chevelles, right, or GTOs. There was always cool cars around. So basically, like being a little kid and seeing these cool cars. Whenever he was around, he would be wasting money on cars. I realize now they were probably just junk that didn't run. But when you're a kid, they're so cool, right? So when I was a kid, it was in the 80s. So 70s, there were a lot of 70s and 60s cars around, a lot more than nowadays, and they weren't as expensive. So you would be in my town, and there'd just be cars dying in driveways and on the grass, stuff like that. So then, cars were stuck in my head when I was a kid, but I wasn't that into them, but I thought they were cool. Then when I started becoming a teenager and I was able to drive, I really started getting into cars, and I was watching Overhauling and Monster Garage, and I was really into I love painting and custom paint jobs, which is why I like doing brake calipers. I love doing custom calipers and custom colors because I get to express my creativity, and I like doing the intercoolers because I get to build something from nothing, and I get to do custom colors. It's a lot of fun for me. So then my neighbor bought next door. There was this bakery that needed to be demolished. He bought it, and then next thing I know, I didn't realize he was a famous drag racer. I don't know how famous he is nowadays because he passed away, but His name was Lloyd, and he had like you name it. He had, you know, big block Corvettes, 60s Corvettes, 70s Corvettes. He had a couple ZR1s. He had dragsters. I would come home from school and there would be like, you know, in the 90s, he would have like probably like an 11-second 6-cylinder Trans Am, which was one of his famous race cars. I mean, a lot of cool stuff. Like and that probably like that's probably the reason why I always wanted it. I mean, that is the reason. That's the reason I always wanted a big garage full of cars, because I grew up literally next to it. So between like my dad sort of planting the seed, and then Lloyd kind of just always cool cars around. I always wanted that for myself, but I also realized how expensive everything gets. So like I have a car collection, but like I bought a lot of my cars broken and I fixed them up. So that's sort of where all the tinkering comes from. The only new car I ever bought is an Equinox that I bought for my wife 9 years ago that I'm still paying off, because I bought it new. I leased it for I think 4 years, and then we financed the rest of it. So like I'm still paying that truck off, and that's the only brand new vehicle I ever bought. Everything else is always broken. Like my GTO had, you know, a blown engine, and the transmission first and second gear didn't work. My Miata, my Miata wasn't in bad shape. It needed a bunch of work. It had no maintenance done. The Cobra that you guys see me building on the channel, like that car, literally was just a frame with wheels, and it was rusted. There were half the body panels were missing. It had a crappy big block in it that I got rid of and I sold, and then I put in the engine I wanted. So that's sort of where the tinkering comes from. Is even as old as like when I was like 17, like, you know, I was talking this week about how a car, you know, I had a Thunderbird from the 90s that I thought the transmission went bad. Well, I paid a shop a couple $1,000s when I was first driving to put a transmission in, and then I realized later on that the transmission was still original. They changed the differential, so what ended up happening was the differential went bad. They swapped in probably $100 used differential, but charged me for a transmission. So like I sort of have that mentality, like I don't want to get ripped off again. So not that mechanics are bad, like mechanics are great people, but that shop that I went to was a problem, and you know, and it sort of sparked again me doing things on my own more, if that makes sense. Let's see. All right, so let me catch up. I feel like I'm ranting a little bit, even though it is a live stream and I'm doing all the talking. I don't want to rant too much. Let's see, Jeff. What guy? Oh, Malou. Yeah, you asked me about why I'm so passionate. So there's a lot more to it than that. I could probably talk for an hour about cars. Let's see, Malou loved overhauling in a Monster Garage. Yeah, you know, I grew up. When I say I grew up, I mean when I was a kid. I feel like when I was a kid, I would watch overhauling almost every week, and then Monster Garage. So I always like watching Jesse James, and Jesse James making all those crazy builds. Where it was like he'll just give somebody like a weird, like, here, you're gonna take a barbecue and turn it into a car, and then they have to build it. Like I always thought that was so cool, which is why I liked. So like overhauling gave me my urge to want to do like painting and custom paint jobs, and Monster Garage got me into fabricating. So I haven't shown a lot of fabricating on my channel too much, simply because I don't have everything. Well, so I haven't had a project where I've done a lot of fabricating to be able to put on the channel. My Cobra was one that I did, but I did that like 2 years. Well, that car's not finished, but I got it on the road like 2 years before I started YouTube, and I really wish I showed you guys how I fabricated all the stuff on there. So I have another project coming, which someone actually just let the cat out of the bag. I'm actually going to delete your message. Jeff, I'm deleting that message because I haven't shown publicly that project yet. So I have another project where I'm going to be using that project to show off some more fabricating skills, maybe some painting, and a budget V8 swap to like it's an old vehicle, but I'm going to show you how to do like resto mod stuff to that. Basically the same thing I did to the Cobra, I'm going to be doing to this car. So you guys will see a cool project coming up. And Jeff, say whatever you want. Don't worry about anything, Jeff. It's fine. Only people in the membership know about that car, so that's why I deleted your comment. Don't think anything wrong about me saying that in any way. I'm not mad. I don't care. You didn't know. It's fine. But I don't think a lot of people are going to see it because I deleted it anyway. Oh, and by the way, anybody who is going to say something in here, watch what you say. because like swearing and stuff like that gets they ask me to basically if I want to show or hide. I'm gonna hide any kind of like swear or curse words just because I don't want anyone to get in trouble or anything like that. Because they're trying to keep this kid friendly. YouTube has to stay kid friendly, and I agree with that because I'm a dad too. So, let's see, Malou. You said, did your dad teach you how to work on them? Well, so anybody who saw this one video, I have a video on my channel talking about dealing with loss during the holidays. It happened around Christmas. My dad's no longer with us. He was basically, he wasn't a father. He was just the person on my birth certificate, okay? He was never really around. He always dealt with, he was always doing, I'm trying to say this in a way that the live stream won't get penalized, because I can only talk about so many things. So he was always polluted mentally because he would drink and do things that would affect his thoughts. I'm trying not to use the D word, if you guys understand what I'm saying. So he always needed to go to rehab and things like that, and he never really followed through. He never really cared about being a dad. But on days that were good, I had fun with him. Days he was sober, he would be like tinkering with, like, he was a tinkerer too. So I think I got some of that from him. Like, I remember he would be up on the roof putting like CB antennas on the roof. Like, it's funny, he never had a job, but he would spend all day taking apart like a CB radio, trying to figure out how to make it stronger, put an antenna up on a roof. He wanted to be able to talk to truck drivers all over the world. Like, he did a lot of cool stuff. He would tinker with like stereo systems. You know, when I was growing up, a stereo system would be the size of a refrigerator, and he would always figure out how to make them stronger, increase the amperage. Like, he did a lot of cool stuff like that. So I guess hanging around with him sort of gave me that, you know, ability to tinker, if that makes sense. So that's sort of the relationship I had with my dad. It wasn't great, and I think that's why I constantly work, because he never really had a job, so I constantly work, and I'm always working. Like, I work on average about 10 to 12 hour days, and he never really was like that, and I think that's why I am that way, because I just didn't want to be like him, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, let's get off the subject of my dad, because it's sort of sad, and you know, it sucks because every once in a while I do miss him, but I miss the version of him that was a small portion of my life, because the rest of my life he was just a monster, and I don't want to talk about it too much today because, well, maybe I can. I don't know. If you guys want to hear more about it, just let me know. It's fine. I'm not uncomfortable talking about it. I just don't know what YouTube's gonna flag if I talk about like things that he does, or, you know, talking about the D word. It rhymes with rugs, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's see, Jeff. Nah, I get it. I just forgot it was a members only. You know, that's fine. That's fine, because eventually I'm gonna unveil that car. I think I'm gonna be unveiling that car in the next month, because honestly, it's been sitting in my driveway under a cover, and I have all these parts sitting in the shop, and my shop is always messy, and it really drives me crazy that there's parts always everywhere. I work on like 3 cars at once, which drives me crazy. Well, I love it. But what drives me crazy is I have parts everywhere, and because of YouTube, I really hate the background of most of my videos being all of those parts. But I film so many things. Like, I have so much footage on my computer of all the things that I'm doing. I really mostly put out the cruise stuff. But what's cool about this car is I'm going to get it in the shop. I'm going to start working on it, and I'm trying to show all the other little projects that I do. And it would be really nice if everyone caught those videos too. Like, I'm in the middle of doing a Miata supercharger kit, basically from scratch. It's mostly from scratch, and so I've been sort of peppering that into the cruise videos, and I think I might do like half cruise, half the new project in a video, just to get people who are in the cruise world maybe into this car, just to watch some other videos that I think would be more fun, so I can show off some maybe fabrication, or, you know, doing like a build from scratch kind of thing. Let's see, Summit. I always find a trusted shop in Staten Island. There's so many bad shops, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and look, I want to say this about mechanics. So anybody who knows me knows that I was a paid mechanic for a long time. Mechanics get a bad rap, and I think this is important to note. For every one good mechanic, there's probably 10 bad mechanics. And it's not that they're bad in the sense that the majority of mechanics suck. It's a lot of mechanics don't. They learn basically. They get a job young at a shop. There's maybe start as the oil change person, and then they work their way up, and then maybe they'll do engines and transmissions and stuff. So they sort of learn on the job. They don't learn. It's not like they went to school and learned like all the important things about being a mechanic. Like so even a good mechanic gets insulted or gets a bad rap because a lot of the other mechanics that aren't even technically full mechanics, they're just people who know how to work on stuff. They sort of are everywhere. And if you don't know any better, you're just going to pay the first person you find if you're okay with the price. And unfortunately, you might have to go through 2 or 3 not great mechanics who really aren't mechanics, but they just have a garage before you find a really good mechanic. So if you find a really good mechanic, hang on to that guy. Even I use mechanics too sometimes. So, for example, I have a shop that's about an hour away. So, let's say I needed an alignment, tires, and while it's there, I was like, you know what, do a drive shaft or something just because I'm too tired to get to it or I have too much going on. There's a shop I go to that's an hour away, and I make that 2-hour round trip because I know when I get my vehicle back, it is perfect. So I never, whenever I get alignments done and new tires, I go to them because they have these custom machines that are top-notch machines, and when I get my car back, it doesn't pull, it doesn't vibrate. And sometimes while it's there, I'll have them do like oil changes because I don't like disposing of oil most of the time, and maybe something little like, hey, you know what, throw some brake pads and rotors in while you're there. If it's like my old Silverado, I'll just have them do brake pads and rotors. If it's one of my cars that have like custom brakes on it, then I'll do my own. I won't have them do something like that. But yeah, I mean most of the time I do my own work, but sometimes I'm just too busy, so the daily driver gets done somewhere else, or it's just something I can't do like an alignment. So it's taken me. I'm almost 40. I'm 39. It's taken me till I was like 35 to finally find that shop that's a 2-hour round trip, and I make the trip because I know how good they are. In fact, my wife fought with me one time about, and she's like, "Look, I want to go someplace local to get tires and alignment done." We went to 3 different places because each one of them had different excuses why the alignment couldn't get done, even down to where they're blaming the car for being in an accident. And then I went to my shop back an hour away, and my wife saw that after they did it, the car was perfect, and she understood, okay, now I know why you go out there. So, even I had to teach my wife, and she's married to me. And she sees it as, look, if Dave can't do it, go someplace local. Well, now she understands if Dave can't do it, go to the shop Dave recommends. And there's a reason for that. I've been through, I guess call them the fly-by-night version, I guess if that's what you want to call it. I feel bad because I don't want to insult anybody. But some guys are really good and they take the time to keep learning and staying up to date on things. And some guys are just good enough to get the job done today, but they don't want to aspire to modernize on how to do mechanic work. So I guess that's basically what I'm trying to say. And I think I'm over talking just because I haven't done a live stream in a while. So my apologies, guys. Which sounds weird because it is a live stream where you guys are literally watching me talk. So anyway, okay, so let me catch up on the chat. So Fireworks, you said, I think peppering in other builds is a great way to do that. Yeah, so the channel is predominantly cruise stuff, which, I enjoy. I love doing the cruise stuff. Supercruises.com, you guys can, let's say I stopped doing cruise videos today. You could always go to supercruises.com, and everything I build for the cruise is going to be on there. Everything you've seen in my videos will always be on supercruises.com. But, I also want to do other projects. I don't just have the cruise. I have my Cobra, which is sort of at a standstill because it's okay. So the Cobra cost me about $15,000 to build. I'm into it for $15,000, which is incredibly unheard of when it comes to a Shelby Cobra build. But to finish that car, I mean, if I went to a paint place, it might cost me $10,000 to have them paint that car because of all the body work that needs to be done. So you know what? I'll do all the body work, and I know how to paint. So I could probably do it myself for $2,000. I'm so busy doing cruise stuff that I never get to the Cobra. So the Cobra's body is, I would say it looks like a weathered race car. I would love to finish that car. So I have been buying a few little things to where I could do some real Cobra videos. My first few videos were just, hey, it left me stranded and I figured out how to fix it. So I'm slowly buying things, like, just so you guys know, like, I'm gonna put knockoff center spinners on the wheels. Those things were $400 because it's a Cobra part. I can't be dumping $400 to $1,000 into one Cobra video, especially since a lot of people want to see cruise stuff. But I think if I do a video where I'm working on the cruise and then we segue into the Cobra, you guys might be interested in both cars because you're kind of growing with me, with the cruise and the Cobra, and I'm doing it all together, so you guys will be interested in the Cobra stuff and the cruise stuff and maybe the new project. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. That way I get to all the cars, because if I keep doing cruise stuff, I'm never going to touch the other cars. And I know I just got finished saying Cobra parts are expensive, but sanding the body and getting it prepped for paint, that right there, what's it going to cost me? Maybe $100 in primer and some elbow grease, So that's why I think maybe I should start working on the cruise and peppering the other cars in, so I actually get to them. That's why I've been talking about doing that. Let's see, fireworks. You have a charger that a shop. Oh, you have a charge that a shop said they. Hold on, wait. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. We have a charger that a shop said they can't align. Still charged us full amount. We went somewhere else to get it done, and they got it almost perfect. But after the front tires, we trashed. So with my car, I took it to a shop for just tires. I got new wheels put on it. It's my Chevy SS. It's had bad tires for years, and I finally bit the bullet, and I put rims and tires on the car. Brought it to a shop to get get tires put on the wheels. They're like, oh, hey, your car needs an alignment. I was like, you know what? I know the service manager. Oh, that was the worst part. I knew the guy. I said, you know what? I trust you. Go ahead, do an alignment. I get the car back. The car pulls hard to the right. I let go of the wheel. It just darts right. He gave me the car back this way. And I'm like, you gave me the car back pulling. And he's like, well, I road tested it, and it didn't do it for me. I'm like, well, it's doing it for me. So I kept asking him, do you have the Hunter Road Force machine? So basically, let's say you get an alignment. The tires play a role in a pull. So it could be your caster, it could be your camber, it could be your toe. But if all that's perfect, the tires themselves can cause the problem. So he kept claiming that they don't have it. I brought the car back. I said, redo the alignment like 2 or 3 times. He said the car's perfect. I drove it. It still pulled. Then they said they brought the car to another shop that had the Hunter machine I was talking about. So what the Hunter machine does is it actually puts the weight of the vehicle on the treads. And then it can actually tell if the tire's pulling to the left or the right, and it'll let you know how much weight and force it takes to get that tire to balance. So, when that happens, if the Hunter machine sees that it's not within that spec, it's deemed a bad tire. This guy said he did it. I got so frustrated, I took it to the other shop an hour away. They used the Hunter Road Force machine, found one bad tire in the rear, then they redid the alignment, and the car drives spot on. So that's why it's like, this is the difference between, like, let's say you're somebody who learned at a shop doing oil changes, and then you became the alignment guy, and you only know alignments based on the experience you have at the shop. There's a lot more to it that if you don't stay versed with what could be causing these problems, that could be causing problems with your car. And this is sort of the difference. Like there's a lot of people I talk to that want to learn new things, and they're mechanics that stay versed with all the new technology. Those are guys we need. And there's other people that just only really know their little world, and sometimes there's problems with a car that need more, and they don't know what to do. Now, that same guy who learned on his own, maybe if that same guy also stays on top of technology, he becomes the other type of mechanic, and that's what I think is important. And really, you're a technician at that point. You've surpassed mechanic, and now you're a technician. Especially nowadays, considering cars have like computers that run their seats, you have to be a technician to fix a lot of cars. I feel like I'm ranting. Sorry, guys. I'll get back to the chat. So let's see. Summit. Don't get me wrong. Their actual mechanic work was good. It's just the management where they fell apart. Oh, I think you're talking about something else. Management. Oh, that is another thing. Oh, you brought up a good point, Summit. So I remember when I was a mechanic, my Like when I was a full-time mechanic, every mechanic is timed, which drives you crazy. You're timed. So let's say you want to do an oil change. The place you work at might only give you 30 minutes, and that includes going to get the vehicle, bring the vehicle in, going and getting the stuff to do the oil change, and then doing the oil change, and then also they want upsell. So what could also be happening is the service manager might be in a bad mood that day, and he might be fighting with you, or you might have 30 oil changes that day, and you have to get them all done that day. So then what happens is, like, you might be a great mechanic or a great technician. The service manager or upper management might get in your way to where now they know that they can push you and push you and push you to get, a couple $1,000s worth of work done in a few hours. And they're just going to stick you there because they know you're making the place money. And then you're not growing either. So that's another thing that holds people back. I'm sort of bringing up mostly I'm sort of bringing up mostly shops that maybe have a manager who knows what they're doing, and then everybody else kind of doesn't. They're just people they hired. But yeah, that's another thing is upper management can really mess with your career and can really hold you back. So you might be somebody who's a fantastic technician or have the ability to become a fantastic technician, and you're handcuffed because you're either making the shop money or they don't want to give you anything that's more challenging because they're so concerned about how much money they can make that day that a car that might have a problem that you have the ability to fix is going to just sit there for weeks. And then now that customer is basically pushed on the back burner, which is another reason why people hate shops, because you might drop a car off and you want it fixed, and like a month later you're calling the shop and you're like, hey, where's my car? Oh, we haven't touched it yet. And that's the reason why. There's so much other bread and butter work like oil changes and brakes and maybe transmission flushes that they just don't get to a car that has a problem. And the one person that might be able to fix that car runs the shop, but he's too busy being a boss. And that's what happens sometimes too. Okay, so Malou, let's see. That's crazy. I had a shop quote me $780 for spark plugs on my 2013 Prius. Oh yeah, that's a hybrid. That's right. And then the dealership was 403 by comparison. Yeah, I'd like to think. See, well, it's funny because, like, okay, here, my intercoolers, right? I'll give you an example. My intercooler kit, the cheapest version of the kit that actually gives you power and works great is $725. There's people out there that think that that's expensive and they'll go build their own intercooler system, right? By the time they're done piecing together the pieces, they might spend $800 because you're buying an intercooler core. Then you don't realize like the boost sensor is in the intercooler. Then you have to figure out, the piping is too big, and then now my car's running like crap, and then I'm spending more money. Then I need to buy tools because something doesn't fit right. It needs to be cut, and then a bead roll needs to be put in. And next thing you know, you're spending all this money because up front, and my comparison is maybe the shop at 780 is like my intercooler at 700, right? Then you go to the cheaper place, maybe all they did was spark plugs, and I'm thinking maybe the more expensive place might be giving you more for your money, right? That's my analogy. But in reality, maybe all they're doing is the same thing the dealership did, right? And the end of my story is I get a lot of people contacting me who like tried to go the cheap route, and then by the time they're done getting their intercooler to work, they've spent like $800 or $900, and they're still contacting me to buy parts from me so I could fix stuff that was sort of messed up on the car, if that makes sense. So that was my comparison. So I'd like to think that the place that quoted you $780, maybe they were also doing other things. Maybe, I don't know. But it is good, but you are right. There are shops like for me, like when I did the transmission on my Thunderbird, right? I paid, I think, at like 18 years old, I had to come up with like $2,000, right? I paid to have a new transmission put in. I didn't know that when I paid them $2,000, they were just swapping in a $100 differential from a junkyard. And I learned later on, because I didn't know anything about cars back then, really. I learned later on that that's what they did. Who knows? Maybe if I went to a dealership and they may have charged me $2,000, $3,000 for a trans, and they brought the car in, they probably would have been more expensive. Let's say they might have charged me $3,000. And I went there, they may have said, hey, your differential's broken. It'll cost you $1,000 and we could put in a brand new differential. It's hard to gauge this stuff, I know I'm sort of rambling, But there's a lot of ways to look at it. You can look at it like some places are ripping you off, but what are you getting for your money? And you can look at it like some places are cheaper, but what are they really doing for that cheap amount? You know, or you might get lucky. It's the exact same job, and one place is half the price because the other place ripped you off, and you got lucky and saved yourself. So you know that's. I'm sorry at I'm stuck at I'm sucking at segueing today, because I'm also reading stuff in the chat too. So okay, so Pedro, you had asked any plans in running E85. Well, E85 is cool. I know people are getting gains from E85. The problem with E85, at least where I live, you see my videos, I sort of live in the middle of nowhere. The closest E85 gas station to me is about 30 minutes away. So by the time I leave here and I go to the gas station and fill up and come back, I'm probably, considering I only get about 18 miles per gallon because of how much horsepower the car gets, I'm probably going to be down, I don't know, probably 3/4 of a tank, and then whenever I need fuel again, I have to go back out to that gas station. So for me, like E85 is pointless. So I actually have a methanol injection system that I came up with. It's cruise specific. I have two versions. I have one version where you can put a tank in the trunk and then we can run the lines up to the front. And I have another version where you reuse the cruise's washer fluid container. So I actually have a version where you basically it's just going to be 100% methanol. I have a cap that says it gets rid of the washer fluid cap, and we put the methanol cap on. You fill it up with 100% methanol. So the meth injection does three things. It's a liquid intercooler. So it drops your intake temperatures an additional, I believe, 50 degrees inside the intake manifold. It adds power because of the octane boost, because I'm running 100% methanol. And then it also, I can adjust my air-fuel ratio on the fly. So my car doesn't quite run at the right air-fuel ratio just yet. It actually is still a little bit lean, and I stopped there because I knew I was going to do methanol. So now, once I finish installing the methanol, I can adjust my air-fuel ratio to be where I need it on the fly, which is cool. I can literally just spin a knob, and I can adjust how much the injectors are injecting, and how much or how little, and I can go up or down with my air-fuel ratio. So instead of doing E85, where at this point, if let's say I couldn't find an E85 station, now what you need to do is run your tank empty, change your tune file, and then run regular gasoline. You have to hope the 91 octane is good enough. So I don't like having to do that. Sorry guys, my voice is starting to get a little hoarse. So I don't like having to change tunes in order to fill up. I like being able to just have things work 100% all the time. So for example, methanol I can get delivered to my house, or I can get methanol at any any auto parts store. Methanol isn't just methanol. Like if you get like diesel 911 heat, it's called like fuel line de-icer. But if you look at it and you read the bottle, they're all 100% meth. So you can literally buy that stuff, put it in my tank, and you can get methanol pretty much anywhere you go. So it has the same effects as E85 without the hassle of trying to figure out where to find a gas station. That's my 2 cents. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with the 85. It's just my situation. I just don't have the ability to get it. So that's why I decided a different route. And for people who race, they might want E85 and methanol, so at least there's two ways of getting more power out of the car that can work together, which is great. Let's see, St. Jonah. You had said made it. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. I did see you come in. I just didn't get a chance to say hi. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me know that you're asking that I'm feeling better. I am feeling great now. Well, relatively compared to the way I was. I feel awesome now, which is why I did the live stream today. I did the live stream because I wanted to say hi to everybody. I felt bad I haven't talked to anyone in a while. Even through like Facebook and Discord. Like I've been really MIA lately. And I feel really bad. Oh, Instagram. I've almost haven't been on Instagram. But I'm trying my hardest to get back into the swing of things. Let's see. Jeff, you had said, I'm going to get food real quick. Oh, okay, I'll see you in a little bit. Let's see. St. Jonah, talking about tuning. I hear the BNR tune. Wait. Oh, I have the BNR tune. Does anyone have Vermont tuning or one or the other? A lot of people have BNR and Trifecta. Not a lot of people have Vermont tuning. In fact, you and I were going back and forth about Vermont tuning a few times. I'm curious to see. I did send a message to him. I haven't heard back. I was curious to see if he can tune. Like, for example, I have a lot of projects that I haven't put on the channel yet. So I've been thinking and toying with the idea of putting a supercharger on my Equinox. I talk about the Equinox on my live streams because I haven't had any footage go really out yet. I have a custom Equinox that I drive. It's my daily driver. The Cruise isn't anymore because it's just such a big build now that my Equinox is my daily driver. So that truck has, well, I haven't put them on yet, but I have big brakes going on. I have bigger wheels, sticky tires, paddle shifters. I have the Apple CarPlay from the Cruise in that truck, so I upgraded the radio to a nice Apple CarPlay setup. And I've been toying with doing a supercharger, so I want to talk to Vermont Tuning about doing a supercharger on the, basically tuning for the supercharger. I asked Jerry at Bad News Racing, but he's so busy with a lot of the other stuff. He has some cool stuff coming out, by the way. I'm not going to tell you guys because he's going to be unveiling it. I do talk to him every once in a while. So I'm excited to see what he does with his other platforms he's working on. So he can't get into the Equinox, especially since not a lot of people do that. But Vermont Tuning might be able to. So I really want to finish having a conversation with him. I think his name is Brian. I think his name's Brian at Vermont Tuning. I think. So if you talk to him, let me know what he says too, because I'm curious to see what his abilities are. He does have really good reviews, and there's a lot of places where I see him talking where he flexes his brain a little bit, and he's pretty intelligent. Let's see, fireworks. Do I have any upgrades planned for the SS? Yes. So the SS, I actually started posting in the Discord, but I was overrun by questions that people needed help with their cars. So the SS, I put some new wheels on. They're bronze. I put some new tires too, to fix my tire problem. So the SS is some like a red hot metallic. I started calling them iron. I started calling that car Iron Man, and my other car is the GTO, which is another Holden. And I started calling that War Machine because of the colors, right? The SS is some like a red hot metallic, and War Machine, the GTO, is silver. But I don't like the name Iron Man for that car, so I started doing a big brake kit for the car. I just finished doing a set of calipers for my own personal vehicle. Finally, I've been so busy. I've been doing everybody else's calipers. So I did calipers that are body color, and then what it's going to say on it is Stark Industries. So I am going with sort of an Iron Man theme on that car. And when I say big brakes, like I'm upgrading to 6-piston calipers, 14.5-inch rotors, high carbon rotors, ceramic pads, like what I would basically give someone else, I built for myself for that car. And they're larger than what's already on the car, even though it does come with 4-piston Brembos. And it's going to say Stark Industries. I have an Iron Man logo that's going to go somewhere. And then I'm going to start doing... I've been looking up different types of Iron Man armors. I don't know if I want to call the car Mark or Tony, just for like the Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. If I want to call it like number 3 because it's like a Mark 3 because that's the Iron Man armor that sort of starts matching those colors. And then I wanted to do sort of a build with that car. I was thinking maybe doing a supercharger. The car is so good, I don't want to change too many things, but I was thinking of doing like a custom carbon fiber hood, custom carbon fiber spoiler. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas that I'm toying with. So I don't really know. I don't really know what the next step's going to be. Right now I'm sort of stuck at a name because a name is important. And once I figure out the name I want to go with, I'll be able to figure out a build style that I want to do with the car. But for right now, it's basically suspension, brakes, rims, and tires. I always start with the foundation of a car. I just recently watched Autotopia. They got into an accident because the guy had a 1,300 horsepower car, but his brakes were fading, meaning the brakes stopped working, and then his throttle was sticking, because he started with basically he started up here with his build. The car had 1,300 horsepower, but like his foundation wasn't there, suspension and brakes. Maybe he had some suspension. I don't know the full build in that car. I always start from the bottom. I always go brakes, rims and tires, then suspension, then horsepower. And I know it might not seem that on my channel because I started with putting videos out on horsepower, but I did film a lot of the other things. It's just you guys see the car done, or you guys see the car already lowered and with big brakes on it. I'm gonna close the Discord server. It's making a lot of noise. Unless you guys are asking questions. Let me just see something. Did I miss anything? No. All right. I'm gonna close the Discord server. It's making a lot of noise. So basically, the car, you guys saw it already lowered with brakes and stuff, but I always start with the foundation of a car. So that's why my SS is basically I'm starting slow because it's getting very expensive working on that car. So suspension, brakes, tires, and then we're working into the engine bay. But I kind of want to do some cosmetic stuff on that car just because it's so nice. Same for the GTO. The GTO I did a lot of work to in the past that I haven't filmed yet, but I have started doing some. Like that car's old, so the GTO is so old, and it's so important to me that I try to maintain that car as much as possible because it's getting very rare and parts are so expensive that I try to stay on top of the repairs. So whenever I do repairs to that car, I'll make a video on it because I think other people are in that same boat because they want to maintain their GTO because at some point it's going to be really hard to get your hands on one of those. And I'm seeing the GTO. I'm seeing the average GTO going for like $20,000. 10 years ago, a $20,000 GTO would be like a garage kept low mileage car. And actually, even 5 years ago, it would be like a low mileage car. But I'm seeing cars now with a lot of miles on them going for almost $20,000. And then I'm seeing some GTOs are like $30,000 if they're really rare. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the Holdens for right now. Oh, let's see. Sorry, let me play catch up on the chat. I think there was another part. A local guy is holding a hold. Oh, Travis. Yeah, I know Travis. I see him on the SS pages because in the G8 and the SS and the GTO world, before I even started a YouTube channel, I always made brake kits for those cars. So I've been building brake kits for about 11 years. And that's why you'll see like supercruises.com brings you to my Chevy Cruise section on my website. But I also have a G8 section on my website. So if you go to g8brakes.com, it brings you right to my Holden brake stuff. So you can get, a complete everything you need brake upgrade for those cars. So yeah, I know who Travis is. I see him on a lot of the I'm in a lot of the G8 pages as much as I am in the Cruise pages, just because of the brake stuff that I do. And I've been sort of trying to branch off into other things for those cars, and I really could use the SS and the GTO for that, but I'm not. So I'm shooting for over 300 wheel horsepower with the Cruise. So in order for me to get there, I can't focus on the other cars. I have to focus on the Cruise. Let me just get that out of my system, and then I'll start focusing on other projects on the other cars too. Um, let's see. Malou, I wish that was the case with the quote, but you bring up a good point. I just never expected 4 spark plugs to be more than 180. That's the other thing too. Some spark plugs, like the actual one single plug, could be $20 by itself. I have spark plugs in my Corvette that just to buy they cost me like $200. So you have to really see. You have to see what these companies if let's say I was running a full-time shop and you come to my shop for a tune-up. I would use top of the line parts. So I may give you a quote for a tune-up that could be $700, but you have to realize that it might be $400 for plugs, wires, or maybe plugs and coil packs. And I might also be doing maybe an oil filter, cabin air filter. I might even be doing an oil change. I mean, there might be a lot behind that. So that's why it's always important to find out what exactly you're getting in your car. I know for me, spark plugs, I don't buy like the $2 spark plug. I buy the $7 or $8 spark plug because I want the titanium version. I want the top of the line version because I'm in the middle of trying to maximize horsepower on a lot of my cars. I see a lot of people put a cheap spark plug in. The spark plugs cause so many problems because they're crappy spark plugs that and then you end up spending a bunch of money changing parts, not realizing that your crappy spark plugs were the cause of everything. That's why I spend good money on certain parts. A spark plug, spend good money on a spark plug. Air filters, spend good money on an air filter. The pipe work to go from a cold air intake filter to the maybe the turbo, you can use some cheap parts and maybe make it work. That's probably okay as long as it's not leaking. But at least spend good money on the filter, spark plug wires. I've had spark plug wires that were quote unquote affordable, econo, but like better quality, and I've had spark plug wires literally split in half from heat. And I wish I just spent the extra money because then I wouldn't have to change my spark plug wires twice. This is why I always bring up my intercooler system. People are always piecing stuff together. My kit literally will go in no problems because everything in the kit is top notch, high end. But I had people buying like used parts, cheap parts, and they're having all sorts of problems with their intercoolers, and that's why I'm like, you should have just spent the money up front because you wouldn't be so financially buried on your cheap intercooler, and you could have just had it go in with no problems. And especially since I know other people are running it without problems. You know, I'm not trying to talk about intercoolers. It's just an example. Anyway, let's see. Summit. That's the reason I bought your intercooler. Sorry. So Summit, that's the reason I bought your intercooler so fast, because other cars and a full setup can easily double what you charge. Yes, exactly. That's why I keep bringing it up. And the reason I'm bringing it up, I'm in the middle of filming, actually, Summit, I'm in the middle of editing and filming the video we shot together. Your intercooler is one of the ones I put in personally. I recorded it that day. So I'm in the middle of using that footage in a video, but I'm also in the middle of filming things for the cruise community that basically mimic what I'm saying right now, because I talk to people on a daily basis on making a cheap intercooler work, and they have so many problems, and they're so deep with spending money that they say to me, I wish I just bought your intercooler. I made a big mistake. In fact, even this morning, somebody came to me with an intercooler problem, and I sold them one of my intercoolers, and they're literally ripping all their stuff out and putting my intercooler in because they had so many problems and the car is just not running right. They're so frustrated, and I try and save everybody. That's why I make these videos. So thanks for asking, Summit. I appreciate that, because it's literally, it's on my mind today, which is why I keep talking about it, because literally 30 minutes before I started filming this live stream, I was in my garage filming something else for that video, because I'm in the middle of editing it right now. And I do appreciate you saying that it's a very fair price. I think it's a fair price because every part in my intercooler is top-notch, high-end parts. On top of that, I'm also offering custom colors. And I'm not real, like, you guys are a part of the membership, are getting custom colors, and I'm not charging any extra for it either. So I've been taking care of everybody. I just want to see custom stuff out there. And I think for the money, you guys are getting a lot for the money, which is why I bring it up. I'll talk to you later, Malou. Sorry that you didn't see me say goodbye now, but if you watch the rest of the live stream, you'll see it. Big Brain, how are you? Just so you guys know, he's someone I talk to every day. He has a world record cruise. It's actually one of the fastest cruises. I always bring it up because I'm proud of him. I hope you know that. Let's see. Brian at Vermont does the first gen, but not the second gen. Mostly the motor for the early tracks on the cruise. Okay, so I didn't know Brian doesn't do the second gen, although I was talking to somebody who is talking to Brian, and he is interested, I guess, in doing some second gen stuff. I don't know. No, hold on. I don't want to speak for him. I don't know that because I haven't talked to him myself. Maybe that person was telling me something that he maybe said to them. I don't know, but I just want to leave it at that. Let's see. Brian had the record, actually. He had top 5. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't know he had the record, too. I guess on the Gen 1. Hey, what's going on, Aiden? Sorry I didn't say hi already. I try to go down the chat list, so my apologies. Let's see. Jeff, want to put in the Malibu's intercooler personally, too? Yes, Jeff, I would gladly do that. I know you're not near me. However, if you can get me the car, I know it's going to be expensive shipping it, but if you can get me the car, I would gladly put the intercooler in for you, just because it's you. You know what I mean? You're listen, guys, anybody who talks to me every day who's part of my inner circle, look, I take care of everybody, but if you're somebody I talk to every day about your car and you want to drop your car off and have me do work to it, I enjoy doing that. So I don't mind it. Road tripping is fine. I just keep in mind that if you're going to do that, you can't sleep at my house because I do have a family. But I have had people just rent a hotel and hang out with me, during the day of, and then just stay at a hotel. Oh, I was literally just saying can't stay at my house. The problem with my house, I don't have a spare room, so I don't really have a guest room, which is sort of why I was saying that. The 4 of us live here, and the 4 of us pretty much take up all the space. That's what it's like having kids. You literally just have no space wherever you look. So guys, listen, I've been doing this live stream for an hour. I try to keep them at about an hour. I think I've been doing this for about an hour, and I think I'm at about an hour and 20 minutes because I started before 12. But yeah, Jeff, keep in touch. Also, just to hang out is fun, but if you don't ever want to make the trip, just know that I do have a plan for your car. I do have a plan for your car. I do have a guy local who might have the same car, so I could sort of match stuff up and then send it back to you. But I know from what I can tell, the intercooler will fit on your car with little to no headache, thank God. Or thankfully, I should say. So, all right, guys, I was in the middle of saying goodbye. I appreciate everyone that came here. Appreciate everybody who's on their lunch watching this. And I appreciate everyone who showed up today, especially since I haven't done this in a while. I try to stick to the 7 o'clock time, but like I said, I just didn't have the energy, and I'm fresh off being sick, so I just wanted to say hi during the day because I figured I had more energy to do this. So, if you guys don't have any more questions, I think I'm going to sign off, especially since I'm starting to lose my voice. Excuse me. And last time on my last live stream, you guys, I told you that I had a problem with my esophagus, so it's starting to hurt me now. Sometimes when I talk too much, it just really hurts. So, let's see. Didn't you say you have someone who's sending you the whole front suspension off of Malibu? Yes, they are. You just reminded me. I never finished having that conversation with you. We should actually, Jeff, get in touch with me on a later date about that. I remember I meant to talk to you about it, but just keep in mind that was probably before I had shingles, and there's like a 6-week period where I'm drawing a blank on some stuff, so my apologies. Which, again, this is the reason for the live stream. Fopiano, I appreciate you showing up. Fireworks, Jeff. AP Big Brain. Look, I know all your guys' names, but I just want to stick to your screen names. Summit, I appreciate it. Malou, Aiden. Summit, do me a favor, if you're still on, shoot me a text message. I got to talk to you about something. I don't want to put your business out here in the world. St. Jonah, I appreciate you coming. Pedro, thank you. Malou, I think I got Fireworks. I'm not going to go up the whole list and say thank you to everybody that I saw earlier today too, but I appreciate you all coming. One last question. Let's see. Brain, definitely flex those brain muscles. Oh wait, what is? Oh, Brian, definitely flex those brain muscles. Yes, I'm not going to say publicly what you told me, but yes, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say the chat's going to disappear, but the live stream's still going to be here, so I don't want to say that part publicly. Just out of respect for who it's about. That's all. But all right, so thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a nice day. And look, if you guys need anything between Instagram, the Discord server, which I'll probably have all my contacts in this live stream, the Facebook group, and then you guys that are part of the membership, like you guys always know how to get in touch with me. I have no problem answering questions. So if you need anything, please feel free to ask. I don't care what it is. Have a nice day, everyone.